A very warm welcome to you from Equa Marketing. This presentation is brought to you by Equa.com, a leader in digital marketing.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Growing Dentist. I'm so excited today to be talking to Claudia Lovato of Morado Dental Academy. Claudia is an expert in working with people, and really, one of the things that she's really passionate about is understanding the generational differences. So I'm really excited to be talking to you today, Claudia, and welcome. Welcome to Growing Dentist.
Thank you, Naren. Thank you for inviting me to be on your show. I'm really excited. I always enjoy talking about this topic, so I'm excited to be on your show.
Yeah, so let's jump in. So before we get into the details, I just wanted our people to understand, our listeners to understand, just the different generations, the age groups, and what are they, because, so we can all have a common language, so we can all, have an intelligent conversation and listen and learn from your experience.
Sure. So I think, depending on who you're talking to, people have a different idea of what dates are defined generations. So, but it's pretty close. So baby boomers would be born between the year 1946 and 1964. Gen Xers are born between 1965 and 1976, and that's me. I'm a Gen Xer. I should say Gen X. That's my slang for Gen X. Millennials are born between 1977 and 1995. They can also be called Gen Y. And the iGen, or the newest generation, they're called Gen Z, iGen, or Centennials. We haven't figured out what to call them yet. And they're born anytime after 1996.
Right.
So
it's baby boomers, Gen
X,
Gen Y, and then Gen I.
Yes, and Gen Y and millennials are the same. So I just basically refer to them as millennials. That's what everybody recognizes.
Right. So Gen X's are not millennials. It's really Gen Y.
Yeah. So Gen X is 1965 to 1976.
Right. So they're like, I was born in 75. I'm 42. So they are like 40 to 60-year-olds, right now, the Gen X's. Mm-hmm. And baby boomers are anybody above pretty much 63, something like that, correct?
Correct, yes.
And then the Gen Y, who you also call millennials, which is what everybody talks about, they are between, 42 or 40 and 20, is that right?
Younger than 40. So it's 1977 to 1995. So 95 would be 20. I'm terrible with math. So they'll be in their 20s. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 22 to 39 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of millennials in the workforce now, and then we're having the iGen entering the workforce. So it's getting even more complicated.
Right. I'm just wondering, you have helped a lot of people with this. So do you think we should start by talking about the differences in these generations, just to get everybody an overview, or how do you think we should?
Well, absolutely. I think the biggest problem leaders make, and since we're talking about the dental practice, either the practice owner or the dentist or office manager that's leading the team, the biggest mistake that's made is using old approaches and then being frustrated when those old approaches just don't work. So if you don't understand why people are not performing or they're not complying, they're just not responding to your approach of leadership, rather than being frustrated with them, it's time we really look into why our approaches aren't working and we make some adjustments. We need a little tune-up to adjust to these different age groups.
Right. So you're saying you are in Italy and you're speaking Russian or I don't know, Portuguese, and it just doesn't work.
Right, right.
Right. So these people are different, and the way they think is different, the way they approach things are different. So if you don't have the right map, and you're using the wrong map, you're going to get lost. You need, if you're in Rome, you need to have a map of Rome. So as leaders, as owners, they need to understand the differences and, how these people are wired and how they think, so you can better communicate and, work with these people of different generations.
Absolutely. And then, not to be the bearer of bad news, but once you understand them, then your work begins, because how do you get the different generations in a diverse workplace to be on the same page? If you have, say, 2 or 3 generations that all respond to different approaches, then how do you adjust to that? So that's where the tricky part is, getting everyone to get along, and so it's complicated.
Yeah. Let me get talk something specific, right? So let's say I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm anywhere between 40 to 62, let's say, okay? I'm the owner of the practice, I'm the dentist. The people I work with, let's say there are a lot of Gen Ys, they are less than 40 years old, right? And more than 22, right? The team members, the dental assistants, the hygienists, and so forth, or even maybe an associate. So who am I? So first help me understand a Gen X, how I think and so forth. And then help me understand a Gen Y, how the Gen Y thinks. And help me navigate this. And then we'll do the same thing with baby boomers. So we'll kind of try to do some role playing and kind of understand how this works.
Sure. So I will tell you, baby boomers and Gen Xers, the Gen X generation, they're very similar. So when I talk about the characteristics, I'm here, I'll talk about baby boomers and Gen X in the same context, because they're very similar, and I'll get into why they're similar later. But so I'm going to take a guess that you like to work independently,
right?
And you hate to be micromanaged.
Right.
Is that pretty accurate?
Absolutely correct.
Okay. And you probably value seniority, so if you're working in a company, seniority matters. And you're also motivated by recognition for a job well done when you do complete a task, or at least some recognition. You probably have very high standards, and you like, if you're working for someone, you like them to have high standards. And change can be a little difficult for a baby boomer and Gen X. Does that sound pretty close?
Yeah, a couple of minor tweaks, at least in my experience. So, for example, I have a client who's a baby boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. And for my client who's a baby boomer, he loves that personal relationship. He loves, that, one-on-one thing. And that means a lot to him, that rapport and stuff. So we have somebody in our team, and he really relates to this person, and he only wants to talk to that person. And that relationship means a heck to him, right? Now, I, on the other hand, I'm a Gen Xer. When it comes to making decisions, I'm all fact-driven. I use data to make my decisions. I'm not really, the relationships, it's kind of okay, but it's not that important to me, right? So I see that being a difference between me and at least this particular client who's a baby boomer. I'm not generalizing, but something I noticed.
That's a great catch. That's a great catch, because that's correct. They are very similar, but you're right. When it comes to a sales approach and let's say a dentist is presenting a case to a patient and treatment planning, there is a different approach between a baby boomer and Gen X, where baby boomers are more relationship driven, and Gen X is a little more about the information and the data. You're correct there. That's a good one.
Right. And I think when it comes to I think, I totally agree. I like to work independently. I like to produce results. Now, I've heard complaints. Of course, I'm not like this, but I've heard people complain, well, the young people don't care about hard work. right?
Right.
They're
That's
not.
the biggest one. Mhm.
Hmm. Now I work really hard, so I'm technically, at the borderline of millennial because I was born in '75, and you're saying,
Mhm.
the millennials, i.e. Gen Y, started in '77. So I
Mhm.
work really hard. So I don't know if I would say I don't work hard, but of course I work hard, but I do the things I love also, So it's not just about working hard for the sake of working hard or for the man or for somebody else or anything. It's really doing something you're passionate about. So for me, yes, I do work hard, but I have to get excited. Even this call, if I am not excited, I won't be talking to you today because, that to me is really important. You know what I
Sure.
mean? I
Sure.
need to
Mhm.
enjoy myself, right? So I don't know. What's your take on that? Like, baby boomers versus Gen X. Do you feel like what's the difference between baby boomers and Gen X when it comes to, working hard versus I don't know, just you tell me. You have been thinking about this a lot longer than I have.
Well, I think that again, baby boomers and Gen X are very similar. However, you've touched on a couple things that are different. And baby boomers are task focused, and where you're you're on the borderline of Gen X and millennial, and so you want to be inspired, you want to be excited, and that's where the younger generations are. So, but I want to, here's something that's important for everybody to know that people aren't thinking about when they're frustrated with these younger generations is the baby boomers and the older Gen X generation created the millennials and the Gen Ys, and we're creating the Gen I. So their behaviors are all based on parenting styles. So
Right.
that's what I learned. That's how I figure. I had a big aha moment when I was, figuring out how to get millennials to respond because my old approaches and strategies were not working. And in digging in and studying their behaviors and trying to figure out why they weren't responding, I discovered that it was the parenting styles of their parents. And the reason why was the baby boomers, what made the baby boomers and the older Gen Xers such hard workers is because it was expected, and we had rough times.
Mhm.
We had our parents had really high standards. Our parents' lives and schedules didn't revolve around ours and our activities. It
Right.
was quite the opposite. So,
Right.
we went to school, and if we were lucky, we got enrolled in some activities, but it didn't run our parents' lives. And so we had great childhoods, but somehow we thought when we have kids, we're gonna do it differently than our parents did. We're gonna give them more things and sign them up for more activities and make their childhoods magical.
Mhm.
and what we missed out is childhood already is magical.
Right.
So you don't have to fill it up with stuff and activities. It's already magical. But we just decided we were going to do this way. We are going to do it better. And what we did is we created the millennials and the Gen Ys in a way that and I'll define it to you really quickly. And some people are going to go, oh my gosh, I get it. I get why my team is not responding. Um, you'll see a parent tell a child, if you do your homework, you get an hour of video game. So we bribe them. We told them, we go, if you do something, you get this. Well, when I was a child, you did your homework, or your father was disappointed in your bad
Right.
grades. And so the disappointment, that was, we didn't need a carrot dangled in front of us as a reward to get good grades. It mattered to us that our parents approved and were proud of us. But,
Right.
but because we decided we were going to do it better and we're going to make it magical, oh, well, we're going to bribe our kids to do their homework. And if they eat all their vegetables, they're going to get dessert. What some of us Gen Xers, when we were kids, if you didn't eat your food, your mother wrapped it up and put it in the refrigerator, and you had it for dinner the next night because we weren't going to be wasteful. So parenting style shapes the generation, every generation.
Mm-hmm. So you're hitting a really good point, and I'm just thinking about while you're talking. So I bet if you were raised by somebody who grew up during the World War, right? You are, I mean, like it's almost like a privilege to be alive, and you are just doing your part in the, you know, just to, make things work, right? And then your parents are that way, so they don't believe the life is, they believe that you have to work hard, you have to do your part. So you're raised
Mm-hmm.
with that kind of value system, right? And
Right.
you work hard, and you don't really ask, oh, does it inspire me, and why is it great, and all that stuff. But the younger people, like you said,
Exactly.
our parents, I mean, I'm on a borderline of millennial and Gen X. So our parents kind of spoiled us, right? It's all about us. We are the center of the universe, not, there are bigger things than that. So, they pampered us, they thought about us, they spent so much time on us, etc., etc. So we felt, we are the center of the universe. So for us, especially the younger, I'm the borderline, so the millennial
Mm-hmm.
types, you have to be inspired. You have to, do something that's amazing, or something that you're passionate about, or something like that. So just, work hard because that's what you're supposed to do, it's not good
Right.
enough for us.
Right. And here's something important to know and understand is no matter, so if you're a baby boomer or an older Gen X practice owner,
Yeah.
you're not going to get anywhere if you're just frustrated and you refuse to accept that that's just the way it is. As far as
Right.
you can't change this generation. You're not going to break them like wild ponies. Uh, it can't be done. Trust me, I've been there, done that. It can't be done. So you have to accept that they are different, and
Right.
old strategies and old approaches no longer work. And so what we don't like as baby boomers and older Gen Xers is we like our independence, and we don't like to be micromanaged. Now, going back to that parenting style, you know what you just said and what I spoke about was because the parents basically manage their children's lives, that generation, and over scheduled and the activities and the fun and everything, the children were not responsible for managing their own time and their own life and their own homework. And
Right.
so they need structure. So Gen Y and millennials need structure. They might not like it, they might buck it, but they know they need it and want it because they feel a little out of sorts without it because they don't know how to uh, hold themselves accountable or to things. They really do thrive with structure. So,
That's an
yeah.
excellent point. So let me get into that a little bit. So I'm in the borderline now. I had a kind of a weird life in the sense, yeah, till I was 18, I was pampered. Everything was done for me, and my mom pretty much her life revolved around me. But when I was 18, I went to the States for my studies, and financially, they couldn't afford to support me for the whole 4 years. So I kind of, I don't want to send them to the poorhouse. So I just figured out
Mhm.
how to work and make money and all that stuff. So I kind of became very independent from the time I was 18, and pretty much it's just the way the life worked out, and it was the circumstances. So are you saying that a lot of people are in the moms or parents, cocoon, so to speak, and they are protected for too long, so they kind of, even after they become quote unquote adults, they still want that structure and guidance, somebody to tell them what to do and all of that stuff. Is that something you're noticing when you work with? Because I haven't thought about this. I'm just curious.
Absolutely. So when I teach in a classroom, I know my first experience with teaching in a college setting, the students had their syllabus, and I had the class rules and the program rules on the board, and they took that syllabus as their Bible, and they held me to it. That was, if it's in writing and it's a structure that they really thrive with that, even if they don't like it, because they know that's one thing they don't have to self-manage. They go, okay, this is the expectation. This is when this is due. Okay, I can do that, and because they're used to their parents manage their schedule growing up.
Do they grow out of it? Do they kind of figure out do they become self-managing at any point, or you don't see them changing?
Well, I think with technology, there's so many tools that they're the technology generation, and so they are able to self-manage with all the tools, and so that helps. But this is so new that we don't know what they're going to be like in 10 years. So
Right.
we'll see how it goes. But for now, this generation in the workplace, they need structure. They need accountability. Without it, they're bouncing, not knowing. It doesn't matter how much you pay them if they don't have some direction, some leadership, some inspiration, and some structure, they won't be happy no matter what you do.
I understand. So you have to. So this is like almost like you have to be engaged with them quite a bit. You can't just do your thing and not engage with them personally and expect great things. You have to spend the time. You have to have meetings. You have to kind of work with them and guide them and coach them. And it's like high touch.
Yes, it is. And, they really want to feel like they're making an impact and they're making a difference. So in the dental practice, we get so busy, and we tend to get tunnel vision, and we get procedure centric or procedure focus and schedule focus and goals as far as the numbers, and then we get frustrated when our team is not helping us hit those goals and milestones. But and we go, well, why aren't we hitting our numbers? What's going wrong? Why aren't people motivated? Why aren't they motivated by a paycheck? Do your job and I pay you.
Right.
And so we get frustrated. But the missing piece is we forgot to sit down with every new employee, explain to them the mission and the vision of the practice, help them understand that we do make an impact in our community because we help our patients be healthier. We change lives. We save teeth. We make beautiful smiles. And when a patient has a beautiful smile, it's life-changing. So when we can inspire our team to really grasp the impact of what a dental practice can do in that community, that's inspirational for them. And we forget to do that because like I said, old approaches and strategies don't work. We can't just sit down and say, okay, we need to convert X amount of calls into scheduled appointments, and then hygiene department, you need to be scheduling treatments. No one should leave the practice without an appointment or follow-up. Well, that used to work. But the newer generation, we have to inspire them that when we don't see our recall patients every 6 months, we don't get to give them that oral cancer screening that we do every 6 months so that we can catch an abnormality before it turns into stage 3 cancer.
Right.
So
I get it. So in other words, what you're saying is the younger people just saying, oh, well, it's money or it's success, just do it because that's what you need to be successful, or that just you need to get the money, is not good enough. It has to be something bigger. It has to be something purpose-driven. It has to be something, I feel good about doing this. I want to do this because, money is nice and it's useful, but that's not the be-all and the end-all. It's really the purpose. It's really I relate to it because you are talking to me. You're talking to, like, I'm the millennial you're talking to, even though I'm at the borderline, I that's the way I think.
Mm-hmm.
Money is great, but that's really not what drives me. Money is kind of like a byproduct. It's not, the most important thing. And if the purpose is not there, if that passion is not there, I don't want to do it.
Exactly.
And I think going back to my childhood, because I was brought up in a bubble, if I were to use that term, like, I was the world. Everything revolved around me. So, yeah, I'm all about, making me feel good and making me feel excited. And, of course, that sometimes, a lot of times comes from purpose and doing the things that I'm passionate about and stuff like that. Am I making sense?
Yes, absolutely. Mhm.
So you hit a couple of good points. One is you said, of course, they have to align. So of course, they're not the owner of the business. They are somebody who's part of the team. So they have to see the power of your vision, your mission. What are you trying to do? What difference you're trying to make? And they have to identify with it, and they have to want to be part of it. Correct?
Correct.
And second, again, correct me if I'm wrong. They have to feel like that leverages who they are as well. So let's say they love helping people. So if you put them in a role where they are behind a desk doing numbers, they feel like they're not really making a difference, and they get So you have to really understand them and hopefully uh, give them a role that helps them do the things that they feel they're meant to do or they're good at doing. Is that also important or not really?
It's paramount to having a high performing team. I specialize in that, so you have to figure out if you don't sit down and say, are you passionate about your position and what you're doing, and if it doesn't fulfill them, they're not going to perform. If they're not feeling it, I'm just going to speak the millennial thing. I'm not feeling it. If they're not feeling it, they're not going to perform. They're going to underperform, and we have to figure that out instead of just being frustrated and banging our head against the wall, saying, "I don't know what's wrong with the team. Why are they underperforming?" Well, we have to understand them. We really have to dig deep and figure it out, and it's a process. Mm-hmm.
That's makes ton of sense. Now, let me ask you this. So, so it starts with the recruiting, right? So you have to do this right from day one to really figure out the millennials, and like figure out what they're passionate about, figure out if they are excited about your purpose, or is that something you do once they are on board? I'm just trying to understand. Like, help me. Like, I want to be like a fly on the wall and kind of see how this would work.
Well, it always starts with recruiting and hiring. And of course, wouldn't it be nice to just start from scratch? But we can't do that. So of course we're going to adjust how we hire and recruit once we understand what, the difference is. But, I want to reiterate, we have a lot of millennials coming out of dental school. And
Right.
they're either coming into an associateship with a practice with a team already in place, or they're buying a practice that they're inheriting the team. And so now you have them leading an age diverse team. So their leadership approach is going to be different than, say, an older Gen X dentist. So it's complicated. So the practice owner that's an older Gen X, or a younger Gen X, or an older millennial, they have to understand all the age groups too, because their approach is not going to work for an older Gen X employee. So it's really important that we understand the differences. And I'm just going to throw you out an example that is going to make a whole lot of sense to probably some inter-office conflict for just about anybody who's listening to your show. Baby boomers and Gen Xers value seniority. Generation Y and millennials see everyone as an equal.
Right.
They are raised with and I'm going to say entitlement not as a bad word, it's just how they were raised. The world is your oyster. When you walk in a room, you're everyone's equal. And so when you have a new employee that does not value seniority because they feel like they should be treated as an equal in that workforce, in that practice, And then they're working with 2 or 3 coworkers that are older Gen Xers. That seniority matters. They've been with that practice for, say, 10, 12 years, sometimes 20 years. And you will immediately have conflict. You'll have it within the first week. Because they're in charge of, training and mentoring these new employees. And the new employees are like, I got this, back off. I don't, you know what I mean? So it's immediate conflict. And unless that is understood and you have a plan in place to set people up for success, you're going to have instant conflict. And so the best way to handle, so I'll give a tip to your listeners, the best way to handle that, if you're hiring a millennial and you have a team that maybe 1 or 2 millennials, but maybe some Gen Xers, you need to introduce the existing employee to the millennial, the new employee. You need to establish that seniority, that this person knows their stuff. They put in their time here, they're valued because they've been there so long that they know the ins and outs of the practice, and they're going to help you. So you need to listen to them and follow their lead. They're going to help you. Now, when you establish that out of the gate, your new millennial employee is going to go, ooh, this is the person I need to listen to because they're going to help me do my very best. I want to be like them. But if you don't establish that, you are going to have a nightmare, the kind of nightmare that you lose sleep at night because your employees will be mad at you. They'll be mad at each other. It'll be, it's...
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. In my company, I have 183 people, and I don't even believe in the idea of managers. I believe in the idea of coaches, meaning helping you grow. So I guess because as somebody at the borderline, I believe in, I agree. I think everybody's equal, and, there's no, even though I'm the CEO, I want people to call me by the first name, and, we are just all the same. We are all different, and we try to, bring the best of our abilities to do some amazing stuff together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I understand now that you're explaining it now. For me, I can understand the point of view of an older Gen Xer or a baby boomer because they have been putting a lot of time, and they're like, I'm senior. You need to listen to me, and that kind of stuff, right? So
right.
And it's very, very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well,
go ahead.
It's something that's really important because with the millennials, you can see that as a negative. There's a lot of negative talk out there that I hear, and millennials are getting a bad name. When I created a workshop in a program called Managing Millennials, and I had to change the name. Number one, because millennials don't like to be managed.
Exactly.
And number two, because I got hate mail. Because it just and what was funny about it is if you go through the program, you'll realize that I'm embracing them and everybody, every generation, and bringing everybody together. And it's all about understanding everyone and engaging and getting to know, the differences and make it all kind of sync and harmonize. But, it's just really, it's just been a great experience to dig into it. But, yes, the millennials, they get a bad name. So back to what I was going to say when I went on my rabbit trail there, they, once you give them the right tool and the focus and the structure and the inspiration, they will work. They will do things. They will make magic happen.
Right.
So you really can't hold them back. You really will be a detriment to yourself if you're just mad and frustrated at them, and your old approaches aren't working, but you just refuse to try something new. You're going to try to break them like wild ponies. You're just going to fire them because they're not going to conform. But if you can understand them, inspire them, lead them, give them the tools and the structure they need to thrive, they will change your practice. They will make it fantastic and awesome and all the things that you didn't even know were possible. Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. I mean, like this Growing Dentist podcast, right? I mean, I guess a lot of the people who are part of it are millennials who are creating it and so forth. Yeah, I mean, it didn't exist a few months ago, and today we have thousands of people, and so you're right in terms of creating magic, like because they don't know that here is a ceiling and you have to stop here and you have to wait. They think anything is possible. Like you said, the world is the oyster.
Yes.
So because they don't have that mindset, oh, well, this is the way it is, there's nothing the way it is. Anything can be changed. I mean, these are the people who created Facebook and, all these amazing, world-changing, companies with billions of customers and whatnot, right? So,
right.
Yeah, interesting. So you're saying you can tap their, so you don't have to look at it as a negative. You can really tap their strengths and it's like a rocket ship. You can ride that rocket ship.
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, you will be a detriment to your practice if you don't get this right. And if you don't hire some millennials. Because I've heard people say, I will not hire another millennial.
Mm-hmm.
And they're firing them. And you will be a detriment to your practice because guess who your patients are? Guess who your patients are going to be? Guess who you want to attract to your practice?
Right. And I think they're saying millennials are going to become the largest generation very shortly, right? I think baby boomers used to be, but now I think it's flipping to millennials.
Right.
It makes a ton of sense. Tell me a little bit about how can you help our audience? I mean, we have thousands and thousands of dentists who get this through iTunes as well as through the website and so forth. So, tell me, do you have any courses? Do you have any books? Tell me a little bit more about how can our dentists, get you to help them.
Sure. Well, one of the things we do at Morado Dental Academy is I have a team of faculty that offers a lot of practice management courses and things. I personally, this is my specialty. I have my Leadership for the Ages program where I really dig into this topic and help a practice owner understand every aspect of every generation and how to make it work. I actually help them create an action plan and some programs and systems that are going to get everybody in perfect harmony and in sync. And another thing that you and I talked about earlier was understanding everyone's strengths and what they're passionate about doing. I have a program called TRM training. It's called Team Resource Management, and it's understanding your most valuable and leveraging your most valuable resource, which is your team's talent. And so that program, I actually help figure out where everybody's at, what their role is, and then evaluate what their strengths are, what they love to do, what they're good at. And then we tweak things and we come up with an action plan for the whole practice and for the individuals so that everybody's performing at higher levels. And so that's a TRM training and then the Leadership for the Ages. Now, the TRM training I do anytime because I offer an online curriculum that supplements an on-site visit where I come out and meet your team. And then the Leadership for the Ages is an online program, and that one is the next registration available for that one's in April, mid-April. It's April 19th. So they can I can be reached on my website, but I'm on Facebook. I'm everywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. So I'm always I get lots of emails. People ask me questions about this, and I'm always open to helping people out with their struggles and frustrations.
Yeah, MoradoDentalAcademy.com. That's your website, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
I think this is awesome stuff. I really enjoyed talking to you today, and we are going to put the link as well, and more contact information. So anybody who's listening, if they want to talk to you, I'm sure they can get a hold of you through that. And I do appreciate your time today, Claudia, and I want to thank all of our listeners for listening to this podcast. I had a lot of fun and hope you had too. Claudia, thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you very much. And this concludes another episode of Growing Dentist. Thank you.